Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you my review for Z Nation's 13th episode, which was Adios Muchachos. That was an amazing episode. I have to say, I thought it was a great conclusion. They really did a good job of, tying up the loose ends and really going into the plot quite a bit. With the twists in the story from last week, they really knocked this one out of the park. I want to thank everybody for being patient. I know the episode premiered yesterday, but unfortunately it's finals time again at my school, so I'm very busy, reviewing my notes and getting ready for those. But in the meantime, I will still make a few videos. I have times blocked out throughout the next 2 weeks that I can make some videos for you. So stay tuned. They're going to be good ones. So I'm going to do this review right now. If you are not caught up with Z Nation and you do not want to be spoiled, then exit the video and come back later, because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay. So, of course, when we last left off in the episode, Kurian was about to inject Vasquez with the quote-unquote cure. Kurian had convinced everybody that he had created a cure, and that Vasquez should be the first one to test it. Well, Warren interjects and basically notes to Lorena that, Kurian hasn't always been the most trustworthy person, She reminds him that he did, of course, run off before to, I think it was Colorado, where, the events of Doctor of the Dead took place. And basically, Warren convinces Lorena that it should be Kurian that should get the first injection, so that way they know that he can be trusted. So, Kurian's kind of like, I don't need to be first, that's not necessary. But Lorena is very convinced by this, and basically tells Kurian, hey, yeah, inject yourself. She's right. So Kurian's left with no other choice. He does inject himself with what is in the needle. And, he starts to convulse a little bit. He gets on the ground, kind of shakes. But then he gets up. He says he's fine. We're like, whoa, did he actually create the cure? Maybe. But, it convinces everybody that, hey, yeah, Kurian actually did it. He made a cure. So Lorena and several other Zeros start to get vaccinated. And then, Lorena tells, Warren that it's her turn to get vaccinated. And of course, Murphy doesn't want Warren to get whatever is in that needle, because obviously it's not good, whatever it is. And he tells Lorena, hey, can I give Warren the vaccine myself, because she brought me here, she risked her life time and time again. I want to be the one that gives her the vaccine. And of course, Lorena says, yeah, sure. I think that's a wonderful idea. You're right, Murphy. And Murphy pretends to inject Warren, but he doesn't really. So obviously, you're wondering what is going on. What exactly does, the needle contain? Is this a cure? What exactly is it? And the episode goes on to explain that. But of course, while this is going on, you still have a Scorpion who is not very trusting of Warren's group, which, of course, he's correct. They obviously do have some kind of a plan. But, he tries to convince Lorena that, the group is up to no good, that they tried to kill her, that, they've been manipulating her, and Lorena doesn't want to hear it. She says, hey, Warren risked her life to bring Murphy here, to bring our savior, and you know what? I don't really care what you had to say, Scorpion. And Scorpion ends up going back and continues to torture Vasquez, and Vasquez finally reveals to Scorpion who he is, and tells him, hey, you killed my wife and daughter. And Scorpion does remember doing this once, Vasquez tells him the story, because Scorpion says that he's killed many people. He probably doesn't remember, but he does once Vasquez informs him of what he did. And, Scorpion's like, yeah, darn, I should have killed you too, apparently, but I didn't. But he wants to find out, he wants to find out Well, he now knows why, Vasquez is there, but Vasquez tries to tell Scorpion that nobody else knew what he was planning on doing, but Scorpion doesn't believe him. He wants to know why Warren came and brought the rest of the group with him. Excuse me, with her. And of course, while this is going on, Kurian and Murphy are, back in the lab. And we find out exactly what was going on. It was kind of alluded to in the last episode when Kurian, injected that zero, and you saw that Murphy was able to, mimic it. Whatever move Murphy would make, the zombie would make. And what it is Kurian is making an army for Murphy to control. This might be to, just to save himself. It might be to, fight off the threat of the zombies. I think he had a lot of different reasons for doing what he did. But of course, now that he's injected himself, which was not part of the plan, Kurian is basically at the mercy of Murphy, because Murphy can control, eventually, after the incubation period goes through, he can control that person. And what ends up happening is Kurian reveals that he also made an antidote, because he was saying, well, I kind of knew maybe something like this would go on, so he starts to get the antidote ready. And Murphy's kind of like, yeah, so how long's that incubation period? And Kurian tries to, smooth talk him, but Murphy realizes, oh, he actually can control Kurian. And he makes Kurian smash the antidote. So Murphy, shows Warren exactly what Kurian was doing, which is why he didn't inject her. Because according to him, he likes her just the way she is. But, I think that there was a legitimate, thankfulness from Murphy that, Warren and the group have brought him this far. And I don't think that he wants to intend any harm to them, them and the group. He kind of just wants, I think, them to respect what he wants to do, whereas that's really not going to happen. And, Murphy kind of tells Warren, like, well, if you're not with our plan, then you're against it. Kind of hoping maybe that Warren might go along with this or just to leave him there, But Warren is not approving of this, but, she sees exactly what Murphy can do with Kurian. Now, Kurian, mostly follows Murphy's will. Like, I think if Murphy really focuses on controlling him, then he can. But Kurian was still able to kind of speak for himself at times, showed a little bit of a resistance. So, was it perfect? Kind of not, but it was, powerful enough. And, of course, these individuals start to look like the zombie in the last episode that was injected, as well as, if you go back to Batch 47, that scientist, he, had that pale look. It was like that. That's how people were starting to look. Their skin became pale, redness formed underneath their eyes. So they were, in a sense, starting to look like zombies. But, Warren basically tells the group, look, it doesn't really matter what Murphy has going on here. We're still going to complete the mission. We're going to California, and we're going to do it if we have to drag Murphy there, So that's what they plan on doing at this point. So Scorpion, ends up putting Vasquez inside of a cage with a zombie in it, and he ends up going out and telling Lorena that Warren's group is the head of an assassination plot against, her. He tries to, convince her again that Warren's group is no good, but Murphy can take control of Lorena because she was injected with the, whatever Kurian had that can control, that allows Murphy to control people. And, Murphy takes control of Lorena and basically has her rebuff everything that Scorpion was trying to get her to believe. But the other thing that happened was, while Murphy was doing this, he was kind of playing with the idea a little bit, trying, in a sense, to get Warren to submit, because he was basically, skirting around, this idea of, hey, look, I can control these people, and if you don't do what I say, and you don't, follow this, then I can make this go really bad. I can make Lorena tell the group to, turn against you, or, I can have them support you. So, it really showed that Murphy was in a powerful position at that point. And the group ends up taking a Scorpion prisoner, and they put him inside the cage with the zombie. Now, of course, usually in the Z Nation world, things go wrong, and they do. Basically, the cure, so-called cure, making the zombie army, it doesn't last. Um, Murphy, tries to exert control over people, and Kurian basically comes out, he's looking more like a zombie because he injected himself first, and he tries to, attack Murphy. And Murphy tries to control him, tries to control the other Zeros that are, his army, and it doesn't work. He can't control them. So he ends up having to cut his hand and release blood because apparently they're attracted to the blood that's inside of him. So he ends up having to do that in order to get away. And of course, Kurian is still obsessed with him, continues to follow him, wanting to drink more of his blood. And Warren ends up, coming in and beheading Kurian. So she cuts Kurian's head off from his body. And Murphy starts to realize, okay, everything's kind of gone to heck, and this plan apparently is not working. So hey, how about that California idea, Warren? That sounds good to me. So the group, affects their escape. They start to go through the little tunnels that they came through. But the Zeros and Lorena are right behind them. They're trying to track Murphy down because they're attracted to him. And they end up coming across the zombies that were being used as compost. And Murphy figures, well, the best way to get away is by taking the real zombies and, sicken them on the other group members that are coming, so to basically get them to attack the army. And they open the door of the compost machines, and the zombies start to fight the army and Lorena's group. So the group ends up getting to safety, and we see that a Scorpion who was put in the cage is not dead. He comes out, he's got blood all over him, but we can presume that, he fought, maybe he killed the zombie, he was able to get loose. And, he comes up and tells the group, he's like, hey, I don't die, okay, I'm a fighter. And he's basically looking around, he's like, who wants to challenge me? Who wants to, die? And Vasquez takes this opportunity to, fight him. Vasquez has wanted this, and the group does allow him to fight a Scorpion. Now, of course, Vasquez has been tortured throughout the last 2 episodes, so he's really in rough shape. And, what ends up happening is to fight the Vasquez, with the memories of the terrible things that has happened with his wife and daughter, he's able to overcome his pain, and he ends up throwing a Scorpion down back into the tunnels where the zombies are at. Now, a Scorpion's trying to climb back up the ladder, but, all the zombies are around him pulling down on him, and he ends up losing his grip, and the group, shuts the trap door at the top, and we hear a Scorpion screaming. Now, maybe he died, but maybe he didn't. One of the old rules of television is, if you don't see the body, presume that maybe the person's still alive. So even though a Scorpion was surrounded by a bunch of zombies, and even though he was screaming, we didn't see any blood, we didn't see him get bitten, as far as I could see, and, he proclaimed himself to be a fighter. So I think it's very, very possible he might still be alive, and we may see him in the near future. Well, what ends up happening at the end of the episode is the group finds, I think they're muscle cars if I'm not mistaken, but they each find these really sweet, awesome looking cars. And each one takes one and they start to drive down the highway. And it turns out that they are only 2 miles away from California, so they are getting closer to their mission. But as they're driving, 10,000 looks out the window and sees one of those drones. And if you remember earlier in the episode, of the last episode, there was a drone that was flying around that was looking at the group. So it may indicate that some individuals from the Zeros group might still be alive. Maybe it's a Scorpion. Maybe it was Lorena. We don't know who was controlling the drone, but it may be safe to say that it did come from the the Zeros, that group. So 10,000 ends up shooting it out of the air, and they continue on to California. Now, of course, when we go back to the compound, it turns out that, yeah, most of the zombies are dead, some of the Zeros are dead, but lo and behold, who's still alive? Dr. Kurian's head. It turns out that, just beheading him did not kill him. The head is still alive, which most zombies we see, that just because you behead it does not mean that it dies. But in Kurian's sake, you have Kurian able to talk. He's able to, understand things. So really, he's kind of, in a sense, regained control of his mind. And he looks around and he goes, "Oh wow, you're alive." Who's he referring to? He is referring to Lorena. Lorena is alive. And she bends down and picks up the head, and at that point the episode ends. So, granted, the majority of the Zero's threat may be extinguished, but maybe not. Maybe we might see them play a little bit of a role in these last two episodes. Maybe there's some plan for them in season 3, but I don't think we've seen the last of them. We certainly have not seen the last of Lorena. She's still alive. Dr. Kurian's head is still alive, and I think there's a good argument that a Scorpion may have survived. A little less likely with him, but hey, I'm not going to put anything past Z Nation, And again, the old rule of television: you don't see the body, assume the person might still be alive unless confirmed otherwise. So I'll be interested to see what happens in these last two episodes. Looks like the group will be getting to California, maybe getting outside the lab, and I really can't wait. This season has been amazing, so much better than season 1 in many respects. I really like the direction they're going in, and I can't wait to see what happens. So with that, I want to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. If you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and thank you very much for watching.